on behalf of Tilman and Patrick and Blake and Paige and all of the rest of the Fertitta family, our players who were working out like 15 minutes before you arrived. Thank you for staying and being a part of this day. And our legends who are here today, who paved the way of greatness for this franchise. We couldn't be happier that you guys are all here today to celebrate the official opening of our Memorial Hermann Houston Rockets Training Center. So back in December, during construction, I had the privilege of guiding many of you on a hard hat tour, and I think I did a pretty good job of painting the picture of what the vision for this facility would be, but I'm not quite sure I did it justice. It's absolutely beautiful and has accomplished everything that we wanted to do, which is having these basketball courts be the center of attention of everything that happens. So when Tilman bought the franchise 7 years ago, he made a commitment to do whatever was possible to deliver the best product on the court. So we went through a little bit of a phase 1 rebuild. We're in phase 2, and this is really, like, today is the culmination of the beginning of this next chapter of greatness for the franchise. And so providing resources for our players to do the best, for our coaches to have the best resources in order for them to deliver on the court is what today is all about. And so as the plans developed to build this training center, we knew that there was only one natural partner in Memorial Hermann. So from our shared drive to greatness to our partnership in the community with what we do to inspire youth to live healthy, and what we do to commit for our commitment to the underserved, so that together with Memorial Hermann we can do everything possible to build the strongest Houston that we can. We've been in partnership for nearly 20 years, and it feels like we're just getting started. And with that, I'm going to introduce my boss, Tilman, to say a few words.
And I'm going to introduce Dr. Callender. So, you know what's interesting is we were just talking about it, and we met in 1992, myself and Dr. Callender, when he was at MD Anderson. And gosh, we were talking about, we both come a long way. He went from MD Anderson to UCLA, back to Galveston, where he was president of UTMB. And when he left UTMB in Galveston, because we do a big Mardi Gras celebration every year with UTMB, it's one of the greatest parties in America every year. And I was so sad, but then when I heard that he was going to Memorial Hermann in Houston, I was so happy. Because I said, God, that's even closer to me if I need him. So, but no, it's a long-term friendship. I've known his wife, Tanya, for just as many years, and they're just great partners, but they're great friends. And we're just thrilled that when they said that they wanted to be a part of this training facility, to have such an unbelievable system that they've created at Memorial Hermann. My 4 kids were born at Memorial Hermann and in Memorial City, so it means a lot to us. It probably means more to you, Paige, so there's just a great connection. And Patrick was born the year we won our first championship. So, Dr. Callender, just for you to understand how big Memorial Hermann is, it's 17 hospitals, 6,400 affiliated physicians, and in more than 34,000 employees in this area. It's an unbelievable company, because that's what it is. But they're in the take care of us business, and of all the years I've known lots of leaders, and Memorial Hermann's very, very lucky to have somebody of Dr. Callender's expertise, and he loves this area. He was in UCLA and he couldn't wait to get back to Houston, so that ought to tell you something. So he was the first one that started everybody coming here. So thank you so very much, Dr. Callender, and your whole team. We appreciate y'all so much for being a part of this. There's nobody I'd rather see up there than Memorial Hermann. Thank you, sir.
Wow, what an incredibly warm introduction. Thank you so much, Tilman. And that friendship, which has gone back many, many years now, probably don't want to count how many, very valuable for me and my family. And we greatly appreciate the relationships with the Fertitta family members. But congratulations to all of you on this beautiful facility. Congratulations to the entire Rockets organization. Clearly, this facility sets a new standard for NBA practice facilities, so it's really great to be a part of this. Memorial Hermann is very proud of that partnership that Gretchen described. It goes back almost 20 years now. We know that both organizations have a very strong commitment to this area, to the people who live here, and we've worked together on many occasions now to do things that benefit the community through community programs that we've established, that particularly focused on neighborhoods in need. So very proud to be a part of that. Of course, happy to be part of this celebration today. We look forward to further expanding our relationship with the Rockets organization as we go forward. Most importantly, we're very excited about supporting the Rockets as they bring more NBA championships to Houston. Go Rockets.
Hakeem, you are worthy of a seat if you want to sit down, you know. You're not that important, but you're important enough to get a seat. So, but you don't have to. You get to do whatever you want to do. So, you know, you get to look right here and see 4 Hall of Famers right here on the front row sitting next to each other. You know, people don't realize when you look at Elvin Hayes, and I can remember being like in 3rd grade, and it was really the game that changed basketball. It was the game of the century, and Elvin Hayes scored 39 points, and I didn't have to research that. I remember it like it was yesterday, and I was in 3rd grade, and they beat UCLA 70-68. Am I right? I'm doing it totally off of memory, and Elvin Hayes went on in his rookie year, led the league in scoring. Okay, so Alpy, can you believe you weren't able to do that? If he's here right now, I guess he's not. You know, but led the league in scoring as a rookie, and then you have Hakeem, and let me go to Calvin first. 56 straight free throws. 58. I see. I'm trying to. 78. 78 straight free throws. And that record stood for how long? A long time. A long time. But, you know, what an unbelievable Houston Rocket he was coming out of Niagara, if I can remember. And then there's Hakeem, who came to University of Houston, and he wasn't even worthy for Guy Lewis to send anybody to pick him up. He said, "Can you just catch a cab?" Am I right? Is that, you know, because Guy told me that, and I said, "Don't lie to me like that." And then three-time All-American, and then the rest is history. And then there's this other guy sitting here that we would have never reached that greatness if he wouldn't have been our coach. But people don't realize what a great basketball player he was. And he was also the most famous punch of all time on the bad receiving end of it that really also changed the game. But what Rudy did to come in and be the coach and lead this team and the heart of the champion, and Clutch City came out of this, and it's all because of this man right here. So, and to be able to be a fan and a season ticket holder, and like I said, I'm like the 28th longest ticket holder of all time of the Houston Rockets. So I was that fan watching you guys, you know, even before then. And with Elvin, you and Hakeem, you know, even at the University of Houston. So I know I'm boring y'all, kind of me reliving my history, but just let me have that. So, no, what a special, and for y'all to be a part of the Rockets, and for these young guys to see y'all and be able to go back and research your greatness, because all 4 of y'all's greatness is just unbelievable. And that guy, Bill Worrell, was always right behind him, always talking about him, and the greatest voice ever of the Houston Rockets. And, you know, we lost a great friend and longtime Rocket, Mr. Dawson, for last week or 2 weeks ago, and what a wonderful man he was, and what a great part of the Houston Rockets history he was, and just a special person. So this training center is something special to me. And when I lost the bid to buy the Rockets in 1993, we lost the bid by a couple of $1 million to Les. And Les and I went on to be friends. I was sitting in the same seats and where Les sat for the last since then. But what I lost to buy the team for in 1993 is what this training center cost to build today, $75 million. Isn't that crazy where sports has come, and that a training center costs what the team? Somehow I got the wrong end of this deal, you know. So, but that's the world we live in today. But we're so proud of this. We're so proud that Memorial Hermann's a part of it, and for these guys to have a facility like this. And when I think about what y'all used to go to and train at the Toyota Center, and for you guys to come here today, it's so exciting. And when we decided to build a training center, I wanted something that was very special. But most training centers that all sports teams build are way out of town because they can buy the land right, and it's just easier to do. And I just didn't want to do that. And I had this piece of land, and I wanted it to be convenient for our players. I wanted it to be convenient for our coaches. I wanted it to be convenient for the media. And I wanted it to be convenient for fans and sponsors that we invite here. And most of all, I wanted it to be convenient for me. So so I'm just kidding, of course not. So, but what do we have? We have great equipment. This is where we're going to have our training camp this year because it's so close, and this is where Coach told me he wanted to have it, so that's why it's here. So, and we're so lucky to have this gentleman as wherever he went. There he is, right there. To have such a one of the special coaches in the NBA over here leading these guys. Our outdoor facility, I kept saying, why do we have to spend all this money building this outdoor ramp and everything? So please let me see, I'll use it every now and then, the outdoor part, because I said, why do we need to spend that $1 million? So to do that speed hill and everything else. We use a GPS-infused system, and I wanted to say that because it's in my notes and I have no idea what it is. Okay, so don't ask me. The locker room is double the size, and everything we have here is double and triple the size. I even built a facility for the visiting teams. There's another locker room back there, so they could have their own separate entrance. And if it didn't inconvenience our guys, is another way to bribe them to stay at the Post Oak Hotel. So there's always a plan. So, but thank you very much. For being here. Rafe, do you want to speak, or you just want to take questions? Or,
I'll take questions if you guys.
Gretchen. Tracy, go ahead. Well, after this training center, I expect it to be even more successful than it was going to be. But honestly, it's those guys and that coach over there, and we are lifting off, and last night I was doing our roster, and our 14th player, whoever that is, okay, would be in the continuous rotation of any team out there. There's no deeper team in the NBA than us. But we're still very young, and as we watched all the greats that ever played the game, you're not great until your third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh year. I don't think Michael Jordan won his first championship until his seventh year. Hakeem, when did you win your first championship? Your 9th year? Okay, we don't want to wait that long for you young guys, okay? Because we plan on winning more than 1 or 2. So, but the point is, we're very young. There's high expectations, but to be great, we have to get a little older. So we're expecting a great year, and anything that we can do to help them be better, that's why we did this.
How does this help shift the culture even more? You guys have talked about wanting to change the perception of the franchise. How does a new, beautiful facility that's detail-oriented help shift that even more in a good way?
Is that for me?
For anybody that wants to.
Okay, let me just start it off. And that it's a great question, but I really wasn't trying to change any perception of the franchise. The franchise has always been, in the last 40 years, one of the most respected franchises out there. Okay, so that part of the question I don't understand, but the perception is that we decided 3 years ago when we got knocked out by the Lakers in the first round that we had no more assets. We had traded away everything. My first 3 years, I didn't know what a draft was because we never had a draft pick. And we rotated out half of our players every single year. But I was the first owner never to make a change in coaching, general manager, or anything their first 3 years in the business. But it was time to pull the plug. And Patrick and Rafe came to me and said, we can go into NBA purgatory, which is seed number 7, 8, or 9, with no shot of usually ever even getting to the second round, or we can do this the right way that's proven and go through the draft. And if you just look at the 7 guys that we have from the last 4 drafts, it's unbelievable, mixed with some great veterans. And so that, was it hard? Yeah. Did I like losing? Absolutely not. But we decided to do something that's going to pay off now for the next 12 years. And so it's kind of a coincidence that that the training center happened right now, but we felt like it was still a great time and to make everything happen. But I think even our fans in Houston, while all this was going on, they came out and supported us. But now they're going to really want to support us. So I apologize for the long answer. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Question for Rafael, if I could. What is the competitive advantage that has been built into this facility? Is it the jumbo expanded training facility? Is it all of it? Where is the competitive advantage that you feel like you'll gain from having this facility?
Yeah, it's all of it. This facility is either it's the nicest one I've been in, and it has everything that anybody can think of. That's why we have a ramp outside. And so, so I think, we're always trying to find a competitive advantage, and everything we did a lot of research, and that not just myself, Tilman's whole team did it really. I had nothing to do with it. They did an amazing job, so thank you.
Is anybody here from my team who built this?
Cesar, I saw Cesar's over there, yeah.
Cesar, great job running this. He's one of my project managers. The Whiting Turner people that are here, thank you very much.
I saw Dan here earlier someplace.
Thank you, Dan.
So there he is back there.
Dan.
So the answer is that it's all built around creating a competitive advantage. We play basketball. You can play basketball in any court in America. That's all we need to compete. But at the margins, 2 courts matters. A bigger weight room matters. The more comfortable you can be, the best food you can provide, and this facility gives us the ability to do all of that.
I think this is for Gretchen, but any of you can answer. So with basketball operations moving out here, there's a lot of vacated space at Toyota Center. What are some of the things that you can do now that you've got that space to sort of repurpose for other areas?
Thanks, Ben. Well, they still play 41 regular season, 2 preseasons, and hopefully some games in late April or May. So the team is going to be over there all the time and is still an integral part. We just refinished the practice court right now to make sure that when they are over there for game days, they have everything that they need. So the locker room, all of that space is still going to be utilized. Given that they're here, we are going to have a little bit more flexibility with that space. So we're hopeful in being able to do more camps for youth kids during spring break because we know the team's going to be here. The office space and our executive space, we're giving it a little bit of breathing room. Like we want to see how they interact and what they need on a game day before we make big plans. But we have big renovations coming up this summer that we'll talk about that you guys know about the scoreboard. We have another few things. So this definitely gives us a little more flexibility in what the future of Toyota Center looks like.
Tilman, you brought up the hard years. Did you ever consider changing course and maybe going a little more veteran-laden during that stretch?
Yeah, I thought about it, but him and Patrick didn't. So, they just this is the way we need to do this. And so far they're right, okay? So let's just, I think we're 100% on the right track. I think every move we made was the right move. And 3 years later, that's all you can expect. Usually when teams decide to tear it down and rebuild, and if you notice, there's another team that decided, watching us, that that's what they wanted to do. And they traded us 2 first-rounders and 2 swaps just to get 1 swap and 1 first-rounder back this year, and which was another great trade. No, we've definitely made the right decision, but we all know it takes a lot of luck to win a championship. And if you look at the championships, even by Golden State, that they won, and even the ones by LeBron where he was at that time, there was still a lot of luck involved. It's hard to win a championship, and you got to be able to keep your team together. And that's the most important thing, is that I don't know that there's ever been a team that had less turnover in 1 year than this team right here, okay? But we got to keep this team together, and we think if we can keep this team together, this team could be famous one day.
This is for Tilman. Rafael mentioned the other day when we were Rafael mentioned the other day when we were at Patriot Day, the community event, that you put a very personal touch, you and your team, on this facility and crafting it. So I'm just curious if there's anything that you are especially proud of that you and your team were able to accomplish in building this facility.
Where's the question coming from? Oh, okay, how you doing? The whole thing. I mean, I'm the designer in the sense that I come up with the creative part, and then I'm not an architect, but this thing is laid out very similar to how we dreamed it up, and when I walked in it, I stayed away from it like the last 2 months because it's kind of like you want to see the final outcome of what you were a part of designing, and it turned out exactly as nice as I wanted it to be, and it's a great feeling. But you can look at all my projects around, and I like nice, so that's good for them.
How much of the players' input went into this?
I got that one. Yeah, I mean a lot, right? Like we listen to, and our players are great, but all players this was very much designed to be a player-friendly facility. So so for sure we took input from everybody, from every educated voice that existed.
I don't know how big a sauna should be, or how much they want a locker designed, or that whole thing over there. It's that they decided what they wanted. Okay, I'm good over here, and but wouldn't you know, we have change orders because as they started moving in, they wanted to change this and change that. A typical project.
Hey, Tilman, I know you were talking about your recent projects, but I have a slightly off-topic one. The NHL Board of Governors are meeting soon, and they're talking about possible expansion. I was wondering, have you heard from anything from the NHL or from Gary Bettman, and just talk about possibly bringing hockey to the city?
I think I know whatever I say, I'm going to read on the ESPN headline down there, so I've got to be really careful here. So, NHL would be great in Houston. They are looking to expand. We're hoping that no team right now meets the price that they want for an expansion team, and we're hoping that we somehow can get the team by being one of the best cities in America and also paying the right price for an NHL team.
Tilman, kind of a two-part follow-up to that. There's been talk about the WNBA and bringing the Comets back. With it being playoffs right now, do you have any comments about your desire to maybe bring a WNBA team back?
Well, of course I have some comments. The world has changed, and my company is full of women vice presidents, and women play basketball pretty darn good today, and shoot that ball and play great offense, defense, but we had some of the greatest female players to ever play here with the Houston Comets, and you had an owner that did not live in Houston, and sometimes you do things for the community, even if you financially cannot be as successful as you like for it. But when you're a certain person in the community, you have to step up, and I felt like it's time to step up, and the city of Houston deserves a WNBA team for all the young female and women athletes that live in this city. And wouldn't you know, it's happening right when everybody else wants one. There's 8 cities vying for probably one more franchise that they're going to award in the next 2 to 3 years. And are we going to try to get it? Yes. But do I think that we're in the top 50% just because of the strength of our NBA team and our leadership here? But it's not an automatic. And do we want it? Yes. Are we going to put together a great bid? Yes. My great female president, Gretchen, is leading it, and who's very well respected in the NBA office, and we're going to do whatever we can. So let's just hope we get it. But we came in a little late to the game, but we are the Houston Rockets, and we are the city of Houston.
It's for Rafael. In terms of like the draft and trade deadline, is this going to be the new like war room, or are you still going to use the office at Toyota Center?
No, this is home. Yeah, I'm good.
This is really a lot nicer. Really, anything to do with basketball ops except game day is happening here.
Over here, Gretchen, back to the WNBA bid, since Tilman kind of passed the buck to you a little bit, but who else outside of the Rockets organization are you working with in terms of putting together this proposal for a potential WNBA team? And do you have any sort of timeline on when you might actually submit that to the league?
Yeah, so the WNBA has recently adjusted the process a little bit, given the immense interest in a variety of cities across the country. So they've hired an outside firm to run that process. So we're obviously working with them. We're working internally. We're working with, we have all the resources internally. So the city's going to play a part of that. But we're in a good spot. And right now we're in a little bit of a holding pattern to see how they're going to run this process.
Tilman, hi, over here. You noted that you think it's a responsibility, or you'd like to bring the WNBA back to Houston for the people of Houston. Do you think it is a winning monetary investment? Do you think it's something that will be a good business investment for you?
I kind of answered that. That's really not relative at this point. Let's just get the franchise. We will get leverages because of the Toyota Center and leadership. We just need to get it, okay? And then we'll find a way to make money out of it. We'll make NBA Rocket owners buy season tickets to the WNBA. Our big supporters, like Mr. Miller, who's here, we'll make him buy floor seats for the WNBA team. And Memorial Hermann will expect to ante up, because if not, I will tell all the women at Memorial Hermann that Dr. Callender doesn't support them.
Hey, Tilman, Tilman, can you go back to when you first were able to buy the team, and just how much I mean, you've been a great businessman, but how much what you knew about the NBA and being an owner, how much that's changed over the years to where you are today. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
You have to remember, I was a limited partner back in the early 90s and tried to buy the team, me and John Moores, and I got out lawyered, and that's when I went out and redid my legal department and said, I'm never going to get out lawyered again. Now I get out judged, but right, I can't handle that, you know. But no, a lot has changed. The NBA's changed, and like I said, this team sold for $77 million in 1993, and I set a new record for $2.2 billion in 2017, and so it's totally changed. I mean, Calvin and Akeem and Rudy and Elvin, they would all love to come back and get 1 year's salary think about these stars, what they would make for 1 year. They're ready to take whatever they have to take, whatever drug they got to take, just 1 year, one more year. So yes, it's changed a lot. It's a big money game, and everything in this world is about content today, and we give you a lot of content.
This question is either for Tilman or Mr. Stone, whichever one. What's your favorite part of this facility?
Mine's easy. We have 2 courts. For us, it's an enormous difference. And so for our guys and for our coaches, the courts are spacious too. But it's really been great. The amount we can get done is awesome. So that's my favorite part.
Mine is that it's kind of on my way to work, and I've only ever been to one practice at the Toyota Center. One, think about that. And I'm going to try to make one next week. I'm really looking forward to it. So I like the convenience. I'm a convenience kind of guy. And there's a heliport right here that we've been using here for 20 years, and I'm looking for it. But this is such an exciting year with all these young guys that it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure Ime wants to take a couple of questions.
You've made a lot of proactive investments the last few years. Obviously, this facility, the team playing. How much does this potentially make the franchise look a lot better to players around the league when you're making these types of investments?
I'll take that.
So I'll take a cue from Tilman. We're an attractive property, and we have been. And the reality is that the city of Houston sells itself in the NBA. Tilman, as an owner, sells himself in the NBA. From that perspective, I walked into an incredibly lucky job. We're not one of the franchises that worries that people don't want to be here, don't want to stay here. The fact that Tilman has made it clear from day one that he essentially has unlimited resources and will do whatever is necessary to make sure this is the best run franchise in the NBA, that puts it over the top. But what I would say is, you know, I walked into something that was at the top level, and I got very lucky.
Just like I think when we did the groundbreaking here, at the same time as when we brought, you know, our 767, and all the other teams, you know, saw that, and now the NBA, is that out about what they're doing? Okay, well, just forget that. But we changed something there, that our players were flying on a better plane than everybody else. Even the Houston Astros fly on our planes. So we want to do whatever it takes to be good. But I'm not that great, okay? So don't think that you don't have a budget.
Unlimited.
He's trying to put me on the spot in front of you. We've never told him no, though. I'll tell you that. Never told him no. Thank you all very much. One more. I have a question for Dr. Callender. Dr. Callender, I hope you're very happy to have the Memorial Hermann name on this.
Yeah, I was waiting for somebody to ask me what's my favorite part. It's where it says Memorial Hermann right up there. So, yeah, thank you. We're very proud to be a part. Thank you all.
Thank you all very, very much. Players, thank y'all. Hope y'all had a quick practice today. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate you guys.